And accused in a scam that brought in more than $250,000. And we look at how to safely share the road with farm vehicles. KOAM News at 10 is next. Now at 10, an Oklahoma man is arrested accused of scamming a Lamar, Missouri resident out of more than $250,000. Plus, a visit from the Children's Miracle Network's president serves to strengthen some local healthcare partnerships. And an act of heroism saves the life of a man slumped behind the wheel of a rolling vehicle.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good evening. Due to technical difficulties, we've been unable to show CBS programming this evening since a little bit after 9 p.m. and we've been broadcasting our streaming news instead. But right now, we are live with KOAM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. Summertime storm chances roll into our area. Summer's also going to bring a sweltering rise in temperatures. Let's check in with meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney.
Thanks, Dow. Yeah, we've been lucky so far. We've been pretty average, so we're just going along the summer season. We've had a lot of storm chances that have helped keep us a bit cooler. Today, we were just at average, hitting about 90 to 91 degrees with our low in the low 70s. But over the next couple of weeks, starting tomorrow, we're going to really see those temperatures jump up. So tomorrow, getting up to about 93. Cooler Thursday due to storms, but back up into the 90s by Friday. Now, not to mention high temperatures, the low 90s to mid 90s. We're also going to see high heat index values, which is what it's going to feel like outside. That's why we've got the future feels up there. So tomorrow, temperature is 93. It's going to be feeling like 98 on the Kansas-Oklahoma side, feeling like it's in the low hundreds. Not to mention, we also have storms rolling in after midnight, so winds gusting ahead of that. But I'm going to have all those details coming up.
Arrested an Oklahoma man accused of scamming an elderly Lamar, Missouri resident out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. The suspect is this man, Ravi Amaganti of Edmond, Oklahoma. Barton County, Missouri Authority investigators believe he scammed the victim by claiming to be an employee of the Federal Trade Commission. Court documents say Amaganti told the victim their bank account had been compromised, and if the victim did not provide him with all of their money, it would be lost or stolen. Authorities say the victim provided Amaganti with 4 money transfers. One was for $25,000 via a Bitcoin machine in Joplin. Then 3 times the victim was instructed to give various amounts of money to a man who would show up in a car at the victim's home. Those 3 transactions totaled an additional $235,000. Authorities say they arrested Amaganti as he was leaving the victim's home with $85,000. Authorities in Montgomery County, Kansas raised the reward amount for information concerning the shooting deaths of 5 dogs. The images have been altered, but due to their graphic nature, we should tell you that you should use your discretion in viewing them. It will be upsetting to some people. Authorities responded to a scene last week where 5 dogs have been shot and lay dying. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office says investigating the incident as an act of animal cruelty. The department has reached out to the public for information as well as offering a reward. Since then, people have offered more money to add to the reward. The amount is now up to $1,600. If you have any information, you should contact the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. Children's Miracle Network President Amy Daly is visiting the Freeman Health System and Sam's Club in Joplin. She toured the neonatal intensive care unit and spoke with doctors and nurses who work with children.
Every category, as we talked about how the outcomes are for the patients in this community, you are outpacing national averages in many of them, which is absolutely incredible. The NICU is taking care of babies as early as 22 weeks, which is just 5.5 months instead of the normal full 9 months. And so we actually got to see a 26-week-old baby. We got to see the Angel Eye system.
The visit is because the local CMN won a contest called National In-Flight Challenge. The Newton County Sheriff's Office awards its Deputy of the Second Quarter, in part for a potentially life-saving roadside rescue. Body cam footage shows Sergeant Nick Boo noticed vehicle traveling slower than the others, which created a traffic problem. Boo notified dispatch after determining the driver was slumped over the wheel. He then moved to use emergency equipment to set up a traffic stop, then ran from his car to the still rolling vehicle. Boo managed to stop the vehicle where he discovered the non-responsive driver. He then removed the driver, placed him on the ground, and began CPR. First responders say the driver was able to talk when taken to an area hospital. The driver was diagnosed as having a heart attack and reached out later to thank Sergeant Boo. Sergeant Boo's observation of the traffic on the roadway and his immediate actions, they say, not only saved the life of the driver of the vehicle, but likely prevented a serious motor vehicle accident. The Newton County Sheriff's Office says it's proud to recognize Sergeant Boo for his actions and for his dedication to serving the citizens of Newton County, and they name him Deputy of the Second Quarter. The Neosho City Council tonight paid tribute to former Police Chief Jason Baird with a proclamation. The mayor, Richard Davidson, issued the proclamation. In it, he gave his sympathies to the police department and Baird's family, as well as honored a public servant who served his community for more than 30 years as a law enforcement officer. Recently passed away. The interim police chief also acknowledged the contribution Baird had on the Neosho community.
I think it was great that the city, took time to recognize Chief Baird. He did work for the city for 28 years, basically devoted his life to the police department, eventually was able to be the chief for his last 5 years.
A memorial service was held for Baird last week. Wheat harvest time can mean more farm vehicles to share the roads. Coming up, we're going to have tips on keeping yourself safe this time of year. But up first, the president's busy day.
President Trump doubles down on his ultimatum for Russia to reach a peace deal or face economic consequences. I'm Erica Brown with more on his push to end the war in Ukraine and the bill that could defund public broadcasting.
President Trump's push for Russia to reach a peace agreement with Ukraine was rejected by the Kremlin today. This comes as the president says weapons to assist Ukraine in its war efforts are already on the way. But as Erica Brow reports, Senate Republicans, in a move closer to home, are turning their attention to clawing back more than $1 billion that had been earmarked for NPR and PBS.
President Trump traveled to Pittsburgh Tuesday to attend an Energy and Innovation Summit, unveiling billions in new private sector investments for Pennsylvania's energy and AI capabilities. His visit came as Russia announced its rejection to the president's latest push for a peace deal to end the war in Ukraine. Russian officials called the president's ultimatum to agree to a deal within 7 weeks or face economic consequences unacceptable and insisted the invasion of Ukraine will continue until Russia's goals are achieved. The president has pledged secondary sanctions targeting Moscow if no agreement is made, threatening to impose 100% tariffs on countries that buy oil and gas from Russia, including China and Brazil. The president said Tuesday U.S.-supplied weapons funded by European allies are already en route to Ukraine.
When do you think the first Patriot missiles, some of these weapons that our allies will buy?
They're already being shipped.
From what countries?
They're coming in from Germany and then replaced by Germany, and in all cases, the United States gets paid back in full.
Here on Capitol Hill, Senate Republicans are racing against the clock to vote this week on whether to claw back more than $9 billion in foreign aid and funding for public broadcasting. President Trump's rescissions package could potentially cancel more than $1 billion in federal funding for NPR and PBS.
The primary impact of this potential rescission is going to hurt communities where they need support most, which are rural stations.
Last week, the president threatened to withhold his endorsement for any Republican who opposed the rescissions package. Congress has until Friday to get the bill to the president's desk. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Senate cleared the first of 2 procedural votes on the rescissions package 51-50 late today, with the vice president casting the tie-breaking vote. Senators McConnell, Murkowski, and Collins all voted no. With the area wheat harvest well underway, wrapping up in many cases, you might already have encountered heavy farm implements like tractors and combines going in and out of roadways. Kansas Highway Patrol is reminding motorists that these vehicles are larger than the lane of traffic and are not designed to travel at normal highway speeds. They say you should take caution when sharing the roadways, especially on busy rural roads and unmarked intersections. cars.
It's safe to pass. Make sure that you can see in front of your vehicle, but also be able to see in front of that equipment in front of you. And then pass at a safe speed. And a safe speed would be under the posted speed limit.
Officer Bowles also says the best solution is to always be aware of the surroundings and give yourself plenty of time. Some drivers going through Carl Junction should be aware of a change in the speed limit. Beginning Monday, Route Z, Imperial Road and Walnut in front of the high school, it's going to have a speed limit that will be reduced from 45 to 40. When school begins, the school zone will be reduced from 35 to 30. The change comes following a resident-requested speed study conducted by MoDOT, which found the speed limit is higher than it needed to be. Drivers on I-44 might need to seek an alternative route beginning next Monday night. Expect work crews along I-44 in Newton, Jasper, Lawrence, and Greene counties, starting from the Main Street exit in Joplin and working their way toward Missouri Route 125 in Stratford. Crews will be collecting core samples for the Forward 44 project. Lane closures will take place nightly from 8 p.m. until 6 each morning. It'll be beginning next Monday, running through late September. A little later, hot summer temperatures might make the thought of food less than appetizing.
And our big warm up as we head into the weekend. I'll have those details coming up. Well, it was a pretty warm day today, but we actually have hotter days in the forecast. Let's go ahead and break it down. Taking a look at 7th and Range Line current conditions, 80 degrees. So it is still pretty warm out there and it still feels like 85. Not too bad. Earlier we saw temperatures in the low 90s with heat index value hitting 100. So it is getting hotter out there. We've got a couple of warm days in the forecast and a couple of stormy days as well. Now, not tonight. We're looking great tonight. We've got mostly clear skies across the region, maybe a couple of clouds. You can see downtown Joplin from the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. It just looks really nice out there, minus the 80-degree temperatures. Now, those are going to drop right after 10 p.m. So in the next 30 minutes or so, finally getting down into the 70s and even reaching mid to lower 70s tonight. Now, tomorrow is when temperatures spike and we actually start to see thunderstorm chances. We've got an isolated risk for our northern counties. Now, what we've been noticing over the last couple of weeks when we do have these summertime slightly severe risk for storms, that our risk doesn't get pulled further into our area until a couple of hours before the event. Now, this is going to be a late Wednesday overnight into Thursday event, so we'll likely see that our level 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather gets pushed down to possibly even reaching down to Pittsburgh. Now, the only threat that we're going to see is a wind threat. We're not expecting just widespread severe weather, just that initial impact as it moves in. So let's start 11 p.m. on Wednesday. We've got these southerly breeze that are going to be gusting 25 to even pushing up to 30 miles per hour at times throughout the day on Wednesday, ahead of our front that's moving in after midnight. Now, like I said, we do have the potential to see some strong wind gusts. So you can see where our front is starting to push in. As our storms push in, that's where we're going to see that the downburst winds. So they're coming out from ahead of the storm right along that front. Could see winds gusting 40, 50, even pushing up to 60 miles per hour. Now, these last all night into Thursday morning. So you can see 8 a.m. We've got some widespread rain showers and maybe some stronger points in this that we could get some heavy rain, meaning flash flooding or just flooding in general would be an issue. Now, this will continue into most of the morning. By about 1 p.m., starting to see the widespread rain taper off. We are left with a couple of strongest portions up near Carl Junction area, Lamar, out near north of Caney, Independence, and in Bartlesville, but a little bit more widespread showers. Now, following our Thursday cooler temperatures, rain shower chances, we start to see that heat really creep back up. Now, Friday, our actual temperature in the lower 90s, but our heat index, which is what it's going to feel like outside, 98 in Joplin, 100 in Oswego, Parsons, so mainly on the Kansas and Oklahoma side. Now, Saturday is our hottest day on the forecast period, 104 in Nevada, Fort Scott, Stockton area, likely going to see a couple heat advisories issued, and 105 out there in Nevada, 104 Independence and Sedan. So we could see a couple of heat advisories be issued for Saturday. Actual temperature in the mid-90s. It's going to be the hottest day that we've seen so far this summer. We've been lucky enough to have a little bit more average temperatures, a nice ease into the summertime. But now we're getting further into July, closer to August, and those temperatures are really catching up.
Of course we are. Those relatively cooler temperatures were too good to last.
They were too good to be true.
Thanks. If the heat outside is making your insides revolt against food, well, you're not alone. As Mandy Gaither reports, experts say weather has a big impact on our appetites.
As temperatures keep going higher, your appetite may be getting smaller, and researchers say there's a reason for this. Science.
It actually has to do with the thermic effect of food. So we're not as hungry in the heat because our bodies don't want to get overheated.
Registered dietitian Julia Zumpano with Cleveland Clinic says digesting food and stockpiling its nutrients uses energy, which generates heat. If your body is already hot, it may not want any more heat.
Generally and naturally, our appetites just drop in the summer and in the hotter months.
Even if you're not as hungry, Zumpano says it's still important to have a balanced diet. She says to choose the most nutrient-dense foods possible, like fresh fruits and veggies, and make sure you're getting enough protein. You might opt for ones that aren't as heavy.
Proteins can come from meats or fish, but it can also come from things like eggs and beans and dairy sources like cottage cheese and Greek yogurt.
And finally, Zumpano says digestion can slow down when you're dehydrated, so make sure to drink plenty of water.
Even focusing on hydrating foods can be very helpful, like watermelon and lettuce and celery and cucumbers, cherries and citrus fruits and strawberries. So all of those foods can be very hydrating, in addition to, of course, increasing your fluid intake.
Zumpano says if your appetite does decrease during the summer, lean into that. She says it can help you be healthier, especially if you put on some pounds in the winter, a season which she says tends to have the opposite effect on appetites. Still ahead, the Chiefs signed one of their stars players to a record-breaking contract. Plus, Pitt State players and coaches host a youth basketball camp. Ben McLeish has those stories and more for us up next in sports.
Today, the Pittsburgh State basketball team hosted a youth camp for local players looking to sharpen their skills. PSU focuses on providing a hands-on experience for all participants, while the drills and games are used to help the campers improve on the court. The guerrillas emphasize interacting with the kids and forming lasting relationships.
One thing I tell them is, make sure you're interacting with the kids. You're not standing there being a dud and joke around with them, play one-on-one with them, play 3-on-3 with them, whatever it is. And our guys do a pretty good job of that, and it's something that we really strive to make sure our guys are interacting with the kids and get to know them and have fun with them.
It's good to show the younger generation on how to put in work and get themselves ready for high school or whatever, junior high. It's cool. Really makes me feel good about myself and that I can help the younger generation.
After a day off yesterday, the Joplin Outlaws are back at Joe Becker Stadium tonight for a matchup with Fort Smith. And they start off the series with a bang, taking down the Marshals 13-2 in 8 innings for another run rule win. As the Outlaws score more runs tonight than they have losses all season. Every player in the lineup tonight records at least 1 RBI, and Joplin continues to look like the best team in the Mid-America League. They've now won over 75% of their games. Tomorrow, they'll look to take the series against Fort Smith. Well, yesterday, Mariners slugger Cal Raleigh won the Home Run Derby with 54 dingers. Today, the Major League's best face off in the 2025 All-Star Game. And we've got some drama in Atlanta. It's actually a tie game. Stephen Kwan just tied it up in the top of the 9th. Bobby Witt Jr. also helped out with an RBI double to set that up. So this one may go to extras. We've got some chaos, but that's all we've got for now. And that's all for sports. We're back with more after this.
Scientists overseas are busy scanning for the future with the world's biggest human imaging project. 100,000 people have allowed researchers to scan their brains, hearts, and other organs to add to the UK Biobank. Yeah, there is such a thing. The data is being shared globally at low cost. Helps doctors find new ways of preventing common health conditions from heart disease to cancer.
In a sense, we're trying to crowdsource the world's greatest minds to really make scientific discoveries. And it will really enable research into how can we detect disease at a very early stage.
Volunteers are going to be invited back to repeat the scans every few years to see how their bodies and organs change as they grow older. It's a brave new world out there.
Yep.
It's getting hot.
We are still dealing with the heat out there. So tomorrow getting into the low to mid 90s, heat index near 100. We also have some thunderstorms coming in after midnight Wednesday through most of the day on Thursday. Non-severe, but we're going to want to watch them.
It's going to be sweltering one way or the other.
Yes, it is.
Final sports note.
Well, we've got some big news for the Chiefs. Today, they signed their offensive guard, Trey Smith, to a 4-year, $70 million guaranteed contract, $94 million total, the $17 million signing bonus. This makes him not only the highest paid offensive guard right now, but the highest paid in NFL history. So record-breaking contract.
Yeah, at least somebody to help protect the right side of Mahomes, and let's see if the rest of that offensive line can stand up as well.
Yeah, when you have a guy like Mahomes, you want to protect him.
Absolutely. It's quite an investment the Chiefs have made. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget the morning show starts at 5 a.m. and let's make it a great tomorrow.